Okay, so this is Lindsay, and I have volunteered to do the voiceover for everyone. We couldn't all meet in person, but everybody decided to write down a paragraph for me to read about their slide, and I'll also talk about it a little bit more in depth as I can. I do apologize if you hear my cat and the bell on its collar, or if I have to swat it away as I'm talking, just ignore that. But all right, let's get into it. So, our group is me, Lindsay, Remy, Sam, Toriano, and Devin. This was about the history of dating in media. So it started out with newspaper personal ads. This slide was by Remy. Started in 1695. Pros were that this started the notion that people could connect romantically through another medium. People paid for these advertisements, so it put more money into the newspaper business. But the cons were that this had a potential to be dangerous since there was no way to know what the person was actually like outside of their description. It's a new and interesting way to meet someone at the time, but it was not the most popular method since most people were still used to meeting someone in person rather than responding to an advertisement. So for radio, the dating era in radio started in about 1910. It didn't last very long, and still today is not really much of a thing. Dating was not a major subject matter on programs during the golden age. Like I said, was between the 1920s and the 1950s for radio, and it primarily focused on nationwide news and family-friendly programming rather than love and dating. Blind Date, which was a radio program in 1941 to 1952, so for about 10 years. One of the only shows during this period, but it was criticized as being for only adults and it doesn't belong on the air because during this time, as radio was one of the number one sources of media, that was a lot of kids listened to it also, so you would have a lot of children listening in on the radio, and so this probably wasn't very appropriate. Now we have a range of different radio shows and podcasts that focus more on the spectrum of love, including relationships, sex, and dating, etc. So over time, it's just become more sexualized, the media has, and what its focus is on. With television taking over in the matchmaking program, there's no need for radio format. With less limits of speech and more freedom to discuss more different perspectives within the dating world are possible. Computer dating services. This slide is by Devin. This started in 1959, and the first automated service that matched people via computer was started. It used an IBM 650 and was run by college students to match 98 men and women. The next invention was in 1965, which was called Operation Match. It was started by two Harvard students using IBM 1401. There were several pros and cons. It was used by more than 1 million daters. It showed that this could potentially be more viable than the internet when the internet came into being, but the matches were more unreliable, and it was $3 to use the service, which today would be about $25, so it wasn't cheap. Although the internet had not been invented yet, computer-aided dating started in the late 50s and early 60s. Participants would pay for a questionnaire that would show someone's likes or dislikes. They would fill it out and send it back to the people that were running the dating program. These participants' information would be fed into early computers and then would be sorted to find similarities. If there were enough similarities, the participants would be informed of who they had matched with and potentially given that person's contact information. This process would have been done by hand in all likelihood. The participants did not know if the person they were signing up to meet looked like the photo they were likely given. If the participants hadn't filed or had filled out the questionnaire correctly in the first place, or much at all about the other person when they started communication. The methods were most likely flawed in some way, and although it was a step forward in technology, the system was far from perfect. This is a picture of an IBM 650, which, like I said, was the first automated matching service. So the television dating shows myself, Sam, and Remy worked on together. The first TV dating show was called The Dating Game, which aired in 1965. These television dating shows are typically where one individual, a girl or boy, talks to several different people, either over a period of time, like several months, or it could just be a few hours. And then at the end of the show, the bachelor or the bachelorette will pick a contestant that they liked the most to go on a date with, or sometimes even marry in some shows. Today, a list of some popular shows would include The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, Love Island, My 90 Day Fiancé, and many, many more. The first real entrance into entertainment focused on singles looking for love, and developed into board games, and then records and other types of media content, eventually turning into a commonly used trope, especially within the improv community. Whose line is it anyway? And there was an instance where one of the male contestants previously seen on the show had gone on to murder a 12-year-old girl with several other women. The dating game was the first time singles looking for love was used as a means for entertainment, and the idea took off, inspiring different types of entertainment based off of the show. Anything, like I said above, from board games and records, several other things. Apps have been embedded into social media and eventually back into a game played on stage after improv groups got a hold of the game. So for the internet dating sites, which are different than the computer dating services because they use the internet. So in 1994, the birth of the first online dating site was Kiss.com. This was right after came a more notable website like Match.com, which was in 1995, Craigslist 1995, eHarmony 2000, and OkCupid in 2004. An introduction to the world of online chat rooms and forums, so things such as AOL Messenger. There's a new form of communication which becomes a part of daily life, so not only are we meeting people easier, but we're talking to them more. We're getting to know them more transparently because we get to talk to them on a more frequent time span. 2007 is the second highest online industry for paid content. So the internet dating site really took off after the computer dating services did not so much. So for the cell phone dating apps, Sam had this slide, and the first dating app, Grindr, was unveiled only 2 years after the release of the iPhone, taking advantage of the oncoming smartphone revolution. Grindr was the perfect first dating app as it had a very specific target audience, young gay men, and it gained popularity quickly. Grindr was important because it was a safe space for local gay men to find one another, and it opened up the market for smartphone dating apps, beating out online competitors per convenience. 3 years after Grindr, Tinder launched, which quickly gained popularity for its anonymity and ease. Within 2 years, Tinder was seeing 1 billion swipes per day. Today, there are 1,500 dating apps and counting, and as more are released, there is an emphasis on specificity and the ability to reach new, untapped markets. So, as we stated, Grindr was the first dating app, which was very popular, but today Tinder is the most popular dating site. There are several that people use, and a lot of them are considered to be very successful. Internet and television, which this slide was by myself. This category of media started in 2012. So one of the first shows was called Catfish, which was a television show about finding out whether or not the person someone has fallen in love with online is really who they claim to be, or a catfish, which a catfish is referred to as someone with a fake account and who is not who they say they are. So it could be a girl posing as a guy, or a guy posing as a guy, but just not like the pictures he's posting are not himself. Another show that mixes the internet and television is Love is Blind. This is a television show. This is the most recent, where people find love over the internet, but they never meet face to face until their wedding, while their experience is simultaneously being filmed for television. This was also a social experiment to see if love was in fact blind. So therefore, this has really created a new industry that it has merged, or as I should say, it has converged internet and television together to get people to really ideally show that emotional connection could overrule physical attraction. This also creates an opportunity for awareness of what the dangers of online dating could be by broadcasting it on television to reach a mass amount of people. The dangers such as catfish, so people could be someone other than who they say they are, and so you have to be very cautious of who you're talking to and the information that you're sharing with someone that you've never met before. So there's that. The conclusion of all of this is that dating in the media has come full circle, essentially. So it started as print ads for single individuals in the newspapers, which then moved to advertised as singles in the radio, but not as much and for not as long. This was not a very popular time for dating in the media. Advertised as single on television shows was and still is popular. So that led also into people continuing to advertise themselves as single in a digital print online. So therefore, like the dating apps, the computer dating services. So essentially, it's come full circle from print ads to online digital print ads for being single. People are meeting and falling in love with someone online or through a media outlet has become more frequent, and media convergence has contributed to the increased acceptance of finding love through the media. Here are our works cited. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys are staying safe and healthy, and yeah, so there you go.